Welcome in. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be focusing on the lymphatic system and the myofascial release work. So today's combination is going to be focusing on the gut lymphatics and the threads of circulation when we use the balls. So if you're new to this, please type in, connect. Let me know where you're joining from. I love to get the community starting to collaborate in here. Thank you so much for going into the chat, and any of your support and contributions are really, really appreciated. So I do want to start with a little bit of not so much a lecture, but as we go through the session, I do kind of discuss what we're doing with the lymph and with the tapping and the massage work. But the main thing that you're going to need is a couple tennis or tune-up balls. Hey Mitch, welcome back. Thank you so much. I love to connect to you. That was great. 2 tennis or tune-up balls, a couple of yoga blocks, and a blanket. I would say 2 blankets or 2 towels, right? Beach towels are really good, and a bolster. And I think those are the props. And yourself, right? Your extremities. Having extremities is amazing. You're able to use your hands and also the legs to transport that lymph, right? So the hands are working with tapping, and I'm going to talk about that for just a few moments here. So as you're getting all your things right for the session. So when we're working on the stimulating and opening up the lymphatic channels, we're going to be going into restorative in the beginning, so kind of setting the foundation of circulation in the respiratory muscles. And then we're going to start adding some tapotement, which in massage work is tapping, and that's going to create an amazing amount of circulation to open up the lymph channels, the 6 lymph points that we'll go through that create vibration and stimulate the lymph vessels to drain more easily. So then overall you should have less stagnation, improved circulation and function, and turnover in the tissues. So we use the balls to roll and flush. If the ball is too intense, it causes too much like pain response, I would say use like a little bit more of a squishy ball, which I like to use. I'm going to demonstrate using the harder balls today because most people have a tennis ball. Even if you have one, you can definitely experience this class. But if you have some more sensitivity, I would say get like a kid toy ball that's really squishy and responsive surface to your rolling and your massage work, right? Because if you're getting a massage, it's the surface that's pushing into you, it's pressure and movement. It's not spongy, like a hand is not, an elbow is not, a fist is not, but a ball is great because it actually has a little give, a little rebound on your skin. So I think these softer balls are really cool to check out. Hello, hello. All right. And so that's the gist of it, and we're going to start in a few moments. If you are ready to go, if you've got any questions, type it in, and we'll get started. We're going to start in restoratives, and then we'll go right into the tapotement. So it'll be easy arrival into your respiratory muscles. All right, and you can connect throughout the class in the chat. I am recording this today on YouTube as well, so it's kind of fun. So that's why I'm kind of keeping an eye on the video, and hopefully it's all going to work out fine. But I want to have it so that you'll have the opportunity to have a video freely on YouTube. Okay, so that's where we're at. And I want you to start out with a reclining chest opener. So have a rolled up blanket or towel or even a book under your bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you could use a foam roller with a blanket covering it so it's a little softer on your spine. Hi Denise, hi Kate. I'm in Oregon too. Have a blanket across the top or a towel or a pillow. You want to build a ramp for your back, okay? Have your blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use pillows or blankets or towels and just wad them up under your upper outer thigh. And we'll start reclining. So let's get into our recliner. And we'll start with the back of the pelvis centered on the short end of the bolster. And as you're reclining and letting the spine design extend, This is like the perfect spine extension. As we kind of mentioned, all the prop supports, use the props to hold you. So if you need more blanket height, you can fold your blanket or towel up higher. And then we'll add our blocks or whatever you might have that's similar to these blocks, that's the same size on each upper outer thigh. And kind of consider when you touch the outer thigh in this shape, it's creating the opposite support for my inner thigh, right? So if my outer thigh is supported, my femur down into my hip can just start to settle. Then the pelvic floor and the pelvic bowl and the lumbar lymph nodes that are between the diaphragm and the pelvis can soften. And the gut lymphatics make up 70% of your immune system. So starting with an opener where you can open the arms and the hands resting on the floor, and guide your focus internally, closing your eyes and listening to your breath. Right? So feeling the sensation, the movement of your breath creates. Softening the face. The mouth, the jaw. Yeah, if you feel like making any sounds or anything that's audible, we can't hear you, so it's fine. Just to arrive in your soul, in you. And as you feel the open quality of the chest, land on the exhalation only to welcome the next breath. Right, there's an impermanence with the breath cycle, of course. There's an impermanence of, existence, but the class session can help you cultivate, right, this wonderful reservoir of wellness for yourself, provided going through the sequence. With the back of the pelvis just settling. If you have a couple tennis or tune-up balls, I want you to get a hold of those, separated out of the tote so they're not together into sock or anything. And you're going to tuck them under to the piriformis area. So we're going to think deeper buttock tone. So when you're on your back, you can still have your blocks under the upper outer thighs, but you're going to place those two balls. So they're going to be supporting the back of the pelvis foundation. You want to build a foundation here. So I've got the two balls there as I'm lying back. And instead of rolling across the balls yet, okay, I want you to feel, and it could be around the eyebrows of the buttocks, it could be a little lower. It's different for everybody how you feel that deep touch into your skin, which that dermal layer of getting some pressure is starting to stimulate the lymphatic system. So we want touch to energize the flow of lymph. And that's why we have these props, right? We got props below us, we got props supporting our legs, which can feel quite firm. And that is how we begin to stimulate the lymph, which is the transportation system for the immune system. So bring your arms back overhead. Feel the weight into those two balls at the back of the pelvis, and it might be pretty mild. If you want to be more aware of it, or it brings you in your body, sometimes having something a little more intense can bring you inwards. You can move the blocks aside and have the knees pointing out in Supta Baddha Konasana. But again, you're sinking into the balls. You're not trying to roll on them right now. And as we interlace the fingers or we bring the palms together in prayer, we reach the arms back. And we can feel that elongation station that's so essential for our beginning today. Okay, now with those knees drawing out and that sensation in the back of the pelvis, just starting to feel a little heat there. Okay, bring your arms out to the sides and back to your heart center. Bring your knees to point up. And then place the hands at the belly. And you want to have some fairly firm pressure with the hands at the abdomen. It's a dome with the breath. It lifts and lowers. As you inhale, you expand. And as you exhale, you relax it towards the spine. Really feel as these lumbar lymph nodes get that attention, alternating the breath, and then opposing pressure at the back of the pelvis, which seems all too simple, but brings energy into the back body and then through to the lumbar lymph, which is 70% of our lymphatic system is in the gut. So feeling that movement of breath. Okay, now as we transition into one more restorative pose before we go into the tapping, we're going to slide the hands off. We're going to move the two balls over to the left side, and we're going to rotate using the rib intelligence to roll, and then your arms, and then your hip and legs. And we're going to come into a very simple twist, resting our heart down on the bolster. So we just position our hips to swivel through the back of our pelvis. Yeah, experience it. So the front span of the right thigh is extending. And as you're in rotation, you're going to turn and let your head relax on the blanket or towel, opening through the heart with just gentle touch down into the bolster. Feel the breath kind of intertwined in the belly and the ribs. And feeling that sensitivity right now that the belly has a little more firm pressure from the twist. You might even have a moment where you decide, I'm going to push into my hands, come into this twisted up dog and just feel that energetic in my core vine, and then come back down. So you kind of do, I call these the lizard push-ups, right? A little bit of push-up here. And as I guide down, I just let the elbows relax. About 3 more breaths. This is a specific sequence today for the gut lymphatics, for the respiratory muscles, and then deep work for our hips, our back, and massage work in our calves today. Oh, the calves will be important again. Okay, now slide the hands back under the shoulders. You might do a little bit of kind of a shimmy, just kind of move with the pressure down on the bolster, and then as you start to come up, try a little bit of cat-cow. Bring the hands under the shoulders and knees under the hips. Feel the movement of the back of the pelvis, carving movement between curling and arching. And feel the flexing when you curl the back a little bit and when you carve back into the arch. Okay, now come to that second side, the second hip that's right next to the bolster. So I'm leaning my right hip on the floor next to the bolster. I've got my hands on the ground besides it, and it's almost as if I'm giving the bolster a hug. So my approach is lean in, let your ribs flow outwards, and then let your head turn. And also feel what's human about you. What's human? Like, you have the parts you have, and you can have these visualizations that they're going to flow certain ways, and sometimes, it is what it is, and you're trying, efforting. So feel the aspect of leaning in and then surrendering, because that's the restorative, is to create openings and releasings. And this sequence is fairly complicated, so just keep it simple, one thing at a time. Let the arms stretch open, let your head turn to the left. My legs are in kind of a pile, right? I have my left leg stretching back because I love that reach in my hip flexor and my quadricep area. And also feeling that support of my lumbar curve right here. And I got my lumbar curve supported when my left leg is back. If you're feeling a little tight here in the back and compressed, you can bring the thighs to rest together. Right? There's no saying that you have to have your top leg stretching back. And release your head down. Feel a little pressure on the jaw, touching and resting the eyes into the brain. Okay, now feel kind of the weight of it all. So when we come on up, feel the weight of you. Come up, and then we're just going to take a seat and start working on the deportment part. Okay, so you might find when you're sitting that you need something underneath your seat so you can lift the hips up. So what I find is I'll use a bolster or a blanket. And I think today I'm just going to use a blanket so I have a little bit of height under my seat. And then I'll bring the knees to point out as far as I can reach them realistically. So if it's difficult to sit up, then you probably need more height under your seat, like another blanket or the bolster or a big couch cushion. Or you could be sitting on a stool, right, to do this. So start with the balls and then begin tapping. So if you're feeling a little heavy in the last few moments in those poses, which is part of arriving, is feeling the embodiment, right, of a body and all of its big parts. But now we're going to go to separate parts. We'll call this parts work. Okay, we'll go from psychotherapy into massage therapy idea with parts. Okay, so I'm tapping and I'm going to find the deeper nugget in each calf at the inner calf, right? This is an area when we do the massage part with the calf, the inner line, we don't really get to that because it would twist the knee. So, but we do get the back of the calf really well. So this is a good stimulation into our soleus and our gastroc. And believe it or not, the hamstring attaches down here. You might not know that, but there's an attachment of the gastroc, clearly a little bit above the knee, and the hamstring down a little below the back of the knee. Okay, now come on up to the inner thigh. Just bypass any knee hitting, no hitting of the knee. Okay, and as you're tapping, you'll kind of notice, maybe close your eyes, the spine elevation. And if it wants to curve and just hunch over, just notice. If you're really feeling like you've got to just curve, maybe get another blanket under your seat. Okay, you're like, how long could this be? All right, now bring the balls up to the pec area, so the chest muscles cross at the shins, so it's a little easier on your back. And then as you're going into the tapping, you can make some sounds. Okay, you can move the balls so there's a little rebound. Get them pretty snug to the chest, so you're tapping across the ribbon of the pectoral muscle to the armpit, which we know is a lymph point right in the armpits. Okay, and now we're going to put the two balls down. Stretch our left arm up and tap to the left armpit with our right hand. Okay, so go into that tapping, and as you're pushing into the armpit, stay from pit to the rib, so there's a vibration that moves up into the pit, right? So the reason I have my hand tapping below versus my arm is it's thicker and there's more breathing muscles there. I mean, there's no breathing muscles in my arm that I'm aware of. But the ribs, between each rib, there's a intercostal, and that costal tapping stimulates that vibration up into the armpit lymph. And it's that vibration, right, that we know that stimulates the lymph vessels to drain. Now bring your hands to your shoulders, work on that squeezing and moving the elbows out to drain more easily. So just feel that movement. Squeeze and roll back. Squeeze and roll back. And then switch sides. Up with the armpit and then down the ribs. Now if you feel like you want to stay at the armpit, that's okay. I would say go to where it's a little bit thicker at the base and below the pit, not at the breast tissue but the side, so you can feel that thick kind of thud. Give it a good whack, right? So a good little thud there that vibrates up. And you kind of forget how helpful this can be for those lymph points. And then we'll go down to the belly. Okay, and be a drummer here. Just kind of notice. Press at the heels of the hands. Press at the roots of the fingers. Okay. Oh, I'll be doing this class again in a couple days. Oh, Thursday. Yeah. 1:30. 1:30? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 1:30. So as you're tapping, I want you to get a feeling of the pressure that you're kind of pressing in with the palms, and try to make it more sweeping. So instead of this hit, 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 you're with a body, right, on a drum. So now you're sweeping into the navel. Okay, we'll go into this when we do our restorative inversion next. But go from the side, because you were on the side just a moment ago, right? You're going to sweep into the navel and let those lumbar lymph nodes relax. Okay? Now we're going to go up to the throat. Just hold that area for a moment. Maybe swallow and clear that passageway. And try a few sweeps here. So the sweeping. Some people call this brushing, right? It's nice to do a little brushing. So I bring my hands to the back of my neck, right at the the cervical lymph nodes. C1 and 2 are the other lymph points. Okay, we got 6 points. We'll go over them at the end. Okay, but you're just sweeping. And then I want you to go into tapping at the throat. Now, you can either tap with the hands apart, or you can cross your hands like this and go into this tapping. I think I like this. I like them both. But I have some, I don't know. I enjoy this one a little bit. It feels like a vibration in the side band of my jaw, which can definitely be gripped up. And then we're going to bring the hands to the sides of the ears behind them, tapping at the back of the skull. And then right behind there to the occiput, notice that dent at the back of your head. I got a dent in there. And that dent, what's really important there is that is where you start to stimulate the cerebrospinal fluid, which is the lymphatic system, the glial cells in the brain. That's why we call it glymphatic in the brain. We go up to the crown, and then we're going to go just down to the face. Wake it up. Get the skin cells of the face to stimulate with that touch. Down to the base of the eyes. If you have glasses on, you might remove them, but go down to the cheekbones, and then across to the back, into the throat again, back to the chest, just with tapping, down to the belly finally, and then brush it off. So brush off the arms, and then we're going to brush into the legs. Okay, so let's start to come into our first inversion of the day, maybe of your day today. So you'll have a blanket or a towel, and you'll fold that up so it's going to go under your head. Now, as I was mentioning with the circulation here at the dent at the back of your skull, I want you to have the blanket or towel right there, not at your neck. So this area can formulate its own natural curve, right? You can even see me sometimes. I'll look at my recordings and go, uh-oh, I need to get my curve more here, not here, right? Okay, that's why we do practice, right? So it's like, I'm going to go to practice. It's going to be good for my posture, not just my lymphatic system. Okay, so bring your feet up onto a bolster, or it could be on the floor. They don't have to be on height, but height will help you with that drainage, right? I want to have my feet up, and then when I stimulate the circulation in the massage part with the balls, it will be a little more effective. Okay, now take a block, low setting, under the back of your pelvis. Okay, so you're kind of building this ramp of sorts. Now make sure that blanket is not too high. You don't want it to round your neck. You want it to just be a little padding. Okay, we want our feeling of our skull to be comforted right now, and to feel it touch down. It doesn't get a lot of touch, our skull, it just doesn't. Okay, all right. Now as you lift up your legs, you're going to go one at a time. I would say one at a time, even if you know you can go both at the same, just to feel each side of the back of the pelvis starting to create that arch and reversing the directional flow, because we got legs. So if you have legs, it's kind of amazing, right? Because they do help your whole lymphatic system when you create these poses to help you flush out. So it's all in you, right? You can do so much for yourself in this practice. Health-wise, it could be medicine for you. So I have my knees pointing out a little bit, and I know that's probably better for me to have a little bit of that, but not too much. So bring the feet to touching. Okay, now one thing you can also do when you're lifting up through the backs of the legs is feel the balls of the feet push up, as if you're kind of, in other words, if you were standing, it would be like you're on your tippy toes. Okay. All right. Arms are going to lower down, so my elbows are by my sides like T-Rex arms, like little posts here. And then I'm just going to rest my hands on the belly. And as I lift on the inhale, I'm going to feel that firm pressure right about my navel. So that's between the diaphragm and the pelvis. And then the pelvic floor has that circulation balance right now because my legs are upside down. So it's reversing that gravitational pull on my muscles, but also my pelvic floor, my organs, my bladder, my pelvic organs, right? It reverses it's the opposite of prolapse, which we talk about a bit when we get older, and the bladder and the pelvic organs. So we want to get our body upside down, right? Often, every day. It could be just this. It doesn't have to be a headstand. It could be the pelvis is on just a little height, like a pillow or a towel, and the legs are up resting on a couch or an ottoman. It doesn't have to be yoga props. Okay. So, as I center down, I'm going to start working with the technique of massaging into the digestive tract. So relax your left arm down, okay? You're going to use that right hand, and you're going to push up the right side of the abdomen, across, and then you're going to go down the left, okay? As you're inverted, right? So this is a tricky one. Now, it's almost as if you're just, connecting the dots, right? And it's pretty big stuff in there. I mean, it's deep, like it's a deep belly full. Now, if you recently had some food and this is uncomfortable, what I recommend is maybe not have your legs all the way up. They could be resting on a couch or a chair. We're all at different times of day, so we might be affected differently in the organs. But now I want you just to circle so the hand circulates around the abdominals. It's just making circles. Okay, now arms down by the sides. Let the left foot lower down, so left leg lowers, the right leg stays up. Now, if it's possible, if you have another block, you're going to place that behind the right thigh, which is, it's a big ask. This is a big ask to work on. But if you're able to work that right side of the abdominals this way, there's a little squeezing into the right side of the abdominal, the digestive tract as well. Bend your right knee so it kind of curls over that block. And you can also do this without the block, okay? Yeah, this is fine. With the hands below the knee, drawing the leg in. So I'm giving you option one, which might be, some people like that impact that the block has on their hamstring. They like that kind of reinforcement. I prefer without the block. I just like the body part, move it in. So as you're holding, then as you move the hands away or the block away, make some small circles. Remember, you're still on a block under your pelvis, so you don't want to get too wild and crazy. And switch sides, left leg in. Keep it simple, right foot on the bolster of the floor. And then as I pull the leg in towards my left side of my abdomen, it's not really the navel center as much as it's the descending colon, right? And whether you have one or not, right? So you're going to find that the circulation affects your back muscles, your posterior core, and oh yeah, your breathing muscles, right? Because it's putting pressure into the breathing muscles when you're on your back and you're moving your knees in. So it stimulates the flow of lymph as well. Okay. Now let go of the back of that left leg and circle. Now if you have the block, you can remove that. Just circle the leg, find some rotations, and go both directions. Circling. Okay, and as you lower your feet down, lift the hips up. Slide the block out and let those glutes know that here comes the massage work. So as the spine centers, there might be a pocket of confusion between the lower back and the pelvis. It's that root chakra, right? It's that spine, it's the root chakra. So you might find, okay, I'm just going to feel the sacroiliac, so the sides of the sacrum. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the two tennis or tune-up balls. And you're going to have them perpendicular, so side to side, right at that left glute border. So not hitting the hip or the trochanter, that's here. It's going to be knees shift to the right, roll the balls under the left buttock. And as you bring the knees to point up, you're going to let the hips move side to side, so wagging your tail. Focus on the movement of the hips and not the knees. I mean, you got knees. They're good to have. They're going to be swaying in the breeze, but you really are putting that deep touch into the glute medius. Okay, so here's where that is with the ball reference is here. Okay, it's not on my hip. It's not on my IT band. It's here. It's in my squishy rear stuff. Okay, the squishy stuff is where the balls go. Now, if you only have one ball, use one. If you have a foam roller, use that. The foam roller, it'd be horizontal and you go this direction, but the balls you go across. So they can go from the glute med to the glute max. Okay? So find a glute near you and start rolling. Okay, if the block jams into your lower back on that one, I would say use something softer or put a towel on the block. You can also, if you have two blocks, sorry Mitch, that you can have the blocks like this. So it'd be a wider foundation. Use a foam block, but you can also use a blanket and wad it up, and just eventually that will get a little better. For me, it's pretty tender sometimes. Part of it is getting that contour of the muscles of the lower back, okay? Getting that arch flexible so that you can land on the sacrum. So give that a try. And you might move the blocks a little higher, or the block a little higher. You definitely don't want it too low in the tailbone. Now that's a reference to what we did earlier. Okay, so massaging across the glute zone right now. So you are kind of hip full right now. You're kind of full of your hip awareness. So kind of get into the hip, like drop your concentration into your hip muscles. Okay, are these hip muscles? These are buttock muscles we're massaging, but this affects our hip flexibility. Okay, all right, now bring the left foot to the right knee, and you can keep the ball snug to the left glute, right on there, snug, right next to it, and bring the knees to your chest. You just want the balls to be snug, as if it's kind of wrapping the glute. It's like a glute wrap, okay, like a glute bandage. And the glutes don't ever really get that, right? They don't really get bandaged like a knee does or an ankle. They just don't, right? So they could use all the touch they can get. So hug the back of the right thigh in. If threading the needle's too much, I actually like the foot on the bolster of the floor a lot on this one. And I just press the left inner thigh out. Okay. All right, now switch sides. Knee points in. Take the balls and let your knees roll around. So you're going to take this rotation game right now, circulation. Go both directions. Breathing. Okay, and then take the two balls to the right glute. Remember, they're perpendicular on the side. And as you come up, you're just pushing across. So second side is a different side. They may be similar muscles to side A, but you've got to give total attention to glute B, glute zone B, okay? So I'm on my right glutes, and I'm pushing, and I'm drawing across the glute muscles. So what I find, the area that I can drive it in a little more is the glute maximus, because that's your strongest muscle. The glute medius is right to that border connecting to the joint, where it feels good to massage. That's where all the nerve-rich tissues are. So you're feeling like, oh, this rub is so good. So when you're pushing and drawing across, it's that synchronicity of pressure and movement where you learn how to do a better massage, right? So you dive into what feels reasonable for you. And if you want to go fast, like wag your tail really fast, that's great. If you want to go slow, and kind of make it meaningful, kind of a serenade for your glute. If the blanket height is too low, like right now, I feel like this needs to be a little higher for my comfort level, because this is a little intense right now on my glute, right? I'm going to move the blanket higher so I have more of a crash pad to land on for my head. Okay, now right foot lifts, crossing the right foot to the left above the knee. Again, you can have the balls really kind of held here on the right glute. Okay, so I still have them held here, but with my right foot to the left knee, it's going to contour and it's going to push in and kind of peel away. And this is pretty hardy stuff, right? Even though it's kind of gooey, right? The muscle layer deep inside, there's all these layers, right, that hold your pelvis up. And so then we're working on bone health, right? We're working on regenerating that, which is another topic, bone therapy, right? For our bone density. So I want you to try to feel like this is supported, right? This stuff is supported as I draw the knees in. I have resistance, which is another thing for the bones that we want, is we want to have the muscles pulling on the bone. And when we work on the myofascial release, which is the fascia on the muscle, the myo, That's what we're doing with the balls, at least for today. Okay. You can do stuff that's a little lighter on the skin for the lymphatics. And as you're holding the back of that left thigh, if you decide to, if your inner thigh is just really clenched up, you just let the knee point out and have your left foot on the bolster of the floor. Don't worry about it. Take a few moments here, breathing, holding the back of the leg or having that left foot on the ground or the bolster. Okay, now as we start to shift our leg pattern, what I want us to do is simplify today. So we're going to move the balls aside, and I want you just to uncross the right foot and rock the knees now side to side. So windshield wiper knees side to side. Some people like to do a little more of a kickoff, so they'll kind of swing the top leg over, not with any destination in mind with the leg to touch anything, right? So this is kind of a typical warm-up that I remember from modern dance class. We didn't have our feet on a bolster, so it wasn't as restorative, but we would roll on the back of the pelvis and swing the top leg over to warm up our hip and low back. It kind of felt good, although we were much quicker than this back then, but going slow. But it's definitely my muscle memory, okay? All right, now with that shifting of the leg pattern, I want you to bring the knees back pointing center. Okay, now take a block back under the pelvis. So if you're block averse, like I don't like that block, it's too much pressure, try it a little higher, number one. If it doesn't work, you're going to put a blanket under the pelvis. So you definitely have options. You're going to need the balls too. But if this block isn't high enough, it might poke the sacrum and the tailbone too much, mostly the tailbone. Okay, that doesn't like a lot of pokey. All right, so you decide how is the block going to support the back of the pelvis again. Okay, again, we have this, the addition today is focusing on the gut lymphatics. So we're getting the gut back up, inverting. Okay, now reversing the flow, take a ball in your left hand and you're going to roll it to the upper left trapezius. So between the shoulder and the spine, you're going to position that ball and you're going to move the left arm around. So the block holds your hips up so that there's a little more flow back to the shoulders and the trapezius. And your head is on a blanket and you're moving your left arm around. Okay, now you could simply shrug your shoulders up and down if you prefer. Okay, so if you prefer the movement of the shoulders up and down versus moving the arm way around, you can let your head move left to right. There's no pose police here. So if you decide I'm going to just kind of sample and just explore, improvise the movement. Your ball, though, if you're not sure, I'll show you. It's in your upper left side of the back. Upper though. Just think tier of the back, trap, brick-like muscle, left side. Okay? All right. Okay, now, as you take that ball out from side A, you're going to move it over to the right side. Okay? So as I place the ball to that right side, and I notice, it's a little different on side B. It's not exactly the same response. It might feel more brick-like because this is my dominant arm or hand to do things. So it's a little more tense, but you know what's interesting about the side that you're dominant? It probably has more flexibility, but it could be more tense. These are possibilities, not truths. Okay, so as I move the arm around, I want you to feel where the armor is, because the arm's movement helps you release the armor in the back. You can roll your head side to side. breathing, moving the arm around. Okay, now get that second ball, and you're going to place that at the left side. So one on each side of the spine on the trapezius. So kind of think when you're touching into this muscle with the two balls, okay, it's pretty global now. It's each side, and it feels like my upper back is just lifted, right? When you have two balls, it's kind of nice because it's not like poking one side. It's getting both sides a little bit of elevation, right? And now you want to use those balls to be kind of, let them be responsive into the muscle weave of an upper back. So you might first start with just giving yourself a big hug. And if you feel like, I think the balls are too high or too low, this is your opportunity to kind of suss this out a little bit. Okay. I would say probably higher is better. You know, the trap is really high. If I reach back to my shoulders, I feel the ball right there. It's not very far down my upper back at all. It's not down in my ribs. It's not in my rotator cuff. It's not on my spine. Okay? So you decide how high this blanket's going to be for supporting you. It's under basically the shelf at the back of your skull, your occiput. And then after you give yourself a big hug, move your elbows out, kind of like you're a conductor, and you're just slowly leading the back orchestra along. You're moving, right? You're kind of weaving into these upper cords of tension in your back. Ooh. Do you feel that? Shrugging the shoulders is my favorite to do, but in the training, we do alternating lifting the arms. We move the arms around. We shrug the shoulders up and down. Okay, but we have a lot of pressure in our upper back. So I want you just to stay with that for a moment and just breathe. Even if you give yourself a big hug again, and commit to the bear hug. Feeling that pressure in the lungs, right? Upper back. Okay, now as you start to move the block out, which is kind of a good idea, isn't it, to get rid of that, you're going to push into your feet on the floor. So if your feet are on the bolster right now, bring them to the floor, because the feet will help you steer the movement of your back on the balls. Okay, your feet are incredible for this. So as you lift the hips up, slide the block out, have your rear a little bit up off the ground, and you're going to go down and pushing back up so the balls go up and down the back. When you slide the hips down, the balls go up high. When you push back and up, the balls move a little bit lower, all the way through that upper back rubble. Okay, and put your hips down anytime. If you want to lower your pelvis down, and just breathe, you can do that too. Okay, so push. And then as you're going up and down, kind of feel the circulation, I hope you do, in your back. Okay, now, once you've had that deep, deep touch in the upper back, press the tailbone down on the floor. Okay, now we're going to roll to the side, and we're going to let the arms have a big reach. So if you've got a bolster, I want you to have your knees on a blanket, and what you could do is put your hands on the bolster or your blocks. So if you don't have a bolster, take both blocks. This is another good one I like too. You can have the blocks under your elbows and bring your hands together. and stretch out through the upper body. Okay, I think I like this one just as well. If you've never tried it, I would just try it. So my elbows are on the blocks and I just stretch the chest through. Breathe. Okay, now coming back to table. Okay, weave the left arm under the right arm and turn your head to the right. Stretch the shoulder. Take a few breaths here, just a very brief period. Press and switch sides. Left arm forward, weave the right arm under the left arm, turn your head to the left. Take a child's pose, hands reach wide, knees reach wide, hips back. If you're a little averse to this for your knees, put a bolster under your forehead. And you can also put a block between your feet at the second setting. Right, that can sometimes be helpful for the knees because you won't be pushing as far down. Now transfer up. We're going to take a seat and we're going to start massaging our calves. Oh, caffeinated coming along here in our calves. I love doing this part. So come on up and grab the two balls first and take a few moments to tap again. So you're going to go to the calves and start tapping on the lower leg muscles. Not the bone so much, but the muscles. So kind of feel those muscles on the inner lower leg. And do a little bit of a brush up to the adductors, to the leg pits, to the groins. You kind of learn how to do both the ball and the hand pressing. You know, you kind of find a way to hold this and tap in a meaningful way on the adductor point that connects to the hamstring, kind of a little bit in there to the hamstring at the back. It's kind of nice. Okay, I'm having an epiphany right now. Okay, so take a block or a hardcover book, place it across and horizontal, place a ball on it and then your calf on the ball. Okay, something I've been working with lately that's a little different than what we're used to in this one, which is the ball in the center of the lower leg, which is just simply calf rolling, is you can also, for those of you that have been doing this a while, or those that are just, why not, try it, you can bring the ball to the Achilles, but I would take both of them on each side of the lowest part of your right leg. So the balls are on each side of the Achilles tendon. And it's the base, the very base, and you'll flex and point or just bring your other leg on top, which is my preference, just here. Just kind of get the leg ready to roll, right? Because you're massaging the leg that usually strikes the ground the same way all the time. Your feet get stepped on a lot. So we're doing the best that we can to massage them right now. The leg part that we're massaging is the only muscle in the body that returns the blood back to the heart, the soleus. Okay, we're not there yet. All right, so come off of the ball at the Achilles, and then we're going to turn the block lengthwise. The ball is at the back of the center of my lower leg on my calf, and I'm going to lean back and I'm going to go up and down the calf lane. Okay, so kind of feel where that pressure is in the calf, up and down. Just breathe. It only helps. Up and down the calf. Okay, now stay on this or come into the peroneals, the side of the calf. So I'm going to try to breeze through. So those of you that are like, I just want to get the whole gist of this for the massage, that's okay. So if you want to stay on it a little longer, stay on it longer. But we're going to turn the block across and the ball is on the side of the lower leg. And we're going to hold the right ankle and just below the right knee on the tibia top. And then we're going to draw across the side of the lower leg. This is pretty nerve-rich tissue. And I would say you're going to probably ride across the fibula. And then you're going to try to get to the pretty raw stuff, right? And this is going to be for the organs of detoxification. So this is a really good area to rub. The back of the calf is focused more on the circulation back to the heart, right? It's a lot of heart healthy stuff you're doing, and the area that has a lot of retention, right? Fluid retention, edema, is going to be the back of the leg and the base, right? The Achilles zone. So that can feel pretty raw to massage, like, wow, there's a lot of stagnation here. And now we can feel that on the side. So the lower body holds a lot because as a human, right, it's all going to go to the bottom. So just, there's nothing different than if you had something in a cup and everything went to the bottom. You're so much fluid in your body, right? You're so much of you is fluid and bones. Okay, drawn across. Well, actually, Mitch, I will show you a block at the end that I have, it won't be too long from now, that has a curve in it. They do make them. Manduka makes them. Manduka is a company that makes those. It's the only company I know that makes a block that has a curve. Yeah, I should be using that actually. Okay, I just like to show with props that most people have, so I don't want to be using something fancy and special when people might not even have access to it, right? Okay, so now come off of that side and just squeeze it. The side that you just rolled, squeeze it. Kind of like you're kneading it, right? This is the only time I'll say that you knead this, okay, into the calf. You're going to brush it down. So let that thumb push. You can always use the ball if this is better for your hand to just push with the ball. Get that sludge down. Okay, now let's do a full tapping. You might notice one side to the next is a little different. This could feel kind of blocked, the left side. Just a little bit more chunky. This has a peculiar vibrancy on the right, a little bit better. It's very subtle though. It's not like a big, like I feel like it's a different leg. It's just a subtle energy in the skin, in the lymph, that top layer. So go to side 2. Remember, you can start with the Achilles. So you're going to have the block across and have the 2 balls. Okay? So if you're not sure, how does she have those balls? I got the block under, and then the 2 balls, right, are right at the Achilles here. You can see right at the base, right? So it's pretty low. I mean, it's as low as you could really go. Anyway, it's not going to be on your foot. And the opposite leg crosses. Whew, I got a little bit of a knot on that left, just above the left Achilles. Whew, Achilles heel. So feel that pressure. Now you can flex the foot that's got the balls under it or not. You get to choose. I like to just touch it. Take the other leg on top and that's it. If I lean forward, it's deeper, right? It's a little more challenging. Or I guess a little more successful circulation. Think of it like that. Circulation success is what you're working towards. Okay, now take the ball, just one under the calf, make sure your block is on an even surface, and go across. Yeah, if you have a block that's uncomfortable, if it's a cork block, it's definitely going to be more difficult on your back of your pelvis, Mitch. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend cutting your block apart, but you know, it's up to you. I know some people that can't deal with the block, so they use the wad of towel up because it's a little more firm than like a pillow. Okay, but Manduka's got some good blocks for that. Okay, now as you're going across, kind of feel that ribbed pull. You feel this when you stretch your shoulders sometimes. It kind of has that clink, click or clack. Okay, now turn the block lengthwise and go up and down the calf. Okay, back and forth. Up and down the calf lane. The foot can relax. You don't have to have the foot flexing. And I would say get in the groove. Really feel that successful circulation that you're trying to achieve into your calf. Okay. Yeah, and as you're gliding, notice the muscle response. Mine's kind of a little wonky. I'm trying to find where it needs that deep touch. And just go there. I mean, when else are you going to do it? Right? This is the time. So explore more. It's a good thing to do when you're zoning out, because it will make you zone out, because it makes you a little more spacey. When we do the rolling with a harder ball, it brings endorphins into the bloodstream, and you'll notice that. You can feel a little more spacey, a little bit more woo. So that's a good thing, right? The deep touch, the massage creates that, but it helps you have a little bit of concentration, like a vision inwards. You have a new lens. Okay? So turn the block across, and the leg turns out, and you're gliding across the side of the leg. Now, not the whole leg, just below the knee. Okay? So you might feel, oh, okay, there's a good little ridge here, and then I feel a little muscle here, and just go with it, right? You don't have to follow, exact connect the dots. Some people, the leg kicks outward. Some people, they pull it in. I've seen some people kind of hunker down like they're doing a little project, I've seen people do all kinds of looking things, like they're leaning in and they're breathing, feeling, and going a little bit deeper into this side, the peroneals. That's what we're gliding into. Okay. All right, take a few more glides across the side of the lower leg. Okay. All right. Okay, now as you come out of this, let's just stroll in the calves. So let's take both feet behind us, knees are right under the hips. Stretch the back of the legs and just take a little bit of movement through the ball and the heel of the foot, so that as you're striding, you're stretching in the calves. You were just massaging them, so now you're stretching into them. Walk your feet forward, walk your hands on back. Take a moment just tapping. Turn the feet out. Turn them out. Take a wide enough stance that you can get in there to the inner part, because this is a part we can't really do with the ball because we twist our knee. So we want to get all of it. And then the back of the knee, we can't put the ball there. That's not right. But those are the popliteal, right? That's another lymph point. Then up the inner leg, back to the belly. Okay. Brush, brush, brush. Let's get a ball. Okay, we're going to roll the right foot with the ball. Okay, and as we're massaging the foot, give yourself the opportunity to explore. So you could circle, you could go up and down, you could go across the arch, which would be my heel stays down, and I move the foot out and across. Okay. All right, so kind of feel, as you're moving the foot out and in, kind of windshield wiper. Okay, I really like the arch cross. Okay, I think this is a good one. And then put both feet down, lift and lower the heels. Get a little bit of circulation, kind of a little more sponginess in the, all the way up the joints in the back of the knee. And then the ankle joints. And then go to side 2. Foot 2. Find a foot near you. Only one. Can you do this with both feet and the ball? Yeah, you can. It's kind of interesting. You know, you could do that like if you have a bar, you can hold on kind of like a pull-up bar. That works really well. You could be like on the edge of the counter, you know, something that you can hold yourself up on, like a table. So I think that's kind of fun to explore that personally. It's fun for balance and, you know, it kind of gets you in your body to try to recruit those mystery areas and layers of our consciousness when we balance. And then you can make circles, but I prefer the arch cross. But I bet you got something good going on with that. So foot goes out and in. And I'm purposely at the end of this, we're doing calf and then feet, and then we're just going to drain it out so that you can feel a little bit of refreshment in the legs and the feet before you have to step on them again and head into the rest of your life experience, okay? All right. Now we're going to just shake it out. If you have a wall to touch to hold, that might be helpful to shake it out. Shake it out. Okay. All right. And then tapping again. So from belly to adductors to the back of the knees. Kind of find that inner line, right? This inner line is important all the way up to the pecs, right? This is all the way up to the throat. And I would say just brush. Sweep it. Body sweep. Body sweeping. Get a pretty firm pressure, and then it goes downwards. Then let your arms dangle. Bend your knees enough so your back is safe when you lower down. I'd say bend those knees so your back does not get floppy. We don't want floppy discs. All right, so lower the brain down. Let your head nod side to side. Take a moment just to feel from the neck to the brainstem. And all that's beyond is in the brain, right? That's your consciousness, is it? I mean, how is the body consciousness? And then start to move yourself back to hands and knees, however you find your way down. And then we're going to start to come into what I call the cranial vault support. So we're going to build a bench here, and you can use your blocks under your bolster at the second setting and put a blanket or towels on your bolster. If you don't have this set up and you want to use just a chair or a couch or an ottoman, that's great, right? Or a bed, you can put your legs up on anything. The interesting dilemma right now that we're going to go into is where we're going to put the ball. Okay, now I'm going to show the option to use a blanket or a ball. Depends on your sensitivity in your skull, because some of us don't know how sensitive we are when we do deep touch into our skull. We just don't have that experience often. Only my cats do. Okay, so if I have a ball, let's say you have 2 balls and they don't have a tote or a sock to put them in, put one ball at the shelf at the back of your skull, right at the occiput here. So right above the brainstem, right there. Now, if you have 2 and you have a sock or a tote to put them in, you're going to put both balls in a tote. And these are things that come with when you buy myofascial release tools, balls that you work with for massage. They usually, but not all the time, they come in a tote, okay? And that tote is kind of nice because you can work with the balls together on some massage projects you have, is what I call it, my massage project. Okay. So I'm going to put my legs up on whatever I want. I want the back of my knees supported so the legs are not straight. They're bent. Okay? And as we flow back, we're either going to have our blanket like this under the back of our skull. Okay? If you can't tolerate the ball, that's an option too. Or you're going to use the ball. Okay, now if you have 2 in the tote, you're going to use that at the suboccipitals. So I call it the occipital submarine. Okay, or you're going to have 1 ball at the occiput. And if you draw a line with your index fingers up the sides of the spine, right on the neck, cervicals, remember cervical 1 and 2, that's the very top. And out to the throat is those lymph nodes right there. So you want to be right above, so that vibration flows up into the cranial vault, where we focus on the circulation to the brain's lymphatic system. So the glymphatic, because we're talking about the cells that are focusing around the circulation in the cerebrospinal fluid, which is the glial cells, glymphatic. Arms open. Now we kind of go full cycle in this session today. We started with our head back on support, and we complete the cycle, no matter where you started in the class, back to your head supported. And just feeling how you organize the movement of breath internally. Kind of be your own internal medicine healer right now. You're healing your body. So think about being healed versus being doctored, right? Healing sounds quite harmonious, soothing, a community of healing right now. So breathe in the support from others that are practicing, and letting the spine rest all the way back to the peak on the balls. The bookends of the spine are for the occiput, the top, right above the top, all the way down to the sacrum, the final bone in the spine. And those deep waters within that are moving with your breath. Something you can't even see is so essential for that inner environment to flow, is the breath. And without that, there would be nothing. So interesting that you can't see it, but you can feel it. So there is some mystery behind oxygen. And then feeling your life force, and let this position, this practice right now, center you, and take a few more slow breaths. Let your weight be heavy. Now move the ball or balls away from the back of your skull. And if you have a blanket under your head, or you're going to add one right now, that's fine. And then just let your head nod from side to side. Feel movement at the skull and feel touch. Okay, notice what the ground does to touch into your body. Let your body rest and feel supported by the earth. Now with the belly moving comfortably with the breath, we're going to start to slide the feet in on the bolster or couch or whatever you have those legs lifted up on. And, feel when the chest is receiving the legs, because the legs move in and the upper respiratory muscles receive that pressure, which is a gift of circulation. So if you're feeling a little bit stiff, right, you might not decide to put the knees to your chest. It might be this is enough. So if you have that opportunity and it feels welcome, you can bring a leg at a time in towards the chest and then feel where that deeper pressure is on the other side. It's on the rib side. It's on the back side, and you're kind of sandwiched in the organs, massaging as you rock across the back of your pelvis. You just feel that light tug. And then just roll to the side. Let your hands help position you to maybe come up to sitting. And bring the weight into your pelvis. So the weight is on the pelvis and the spine, right? I want my spine to lift up out of the pelvis. And then finding a moment of deep inner holding. Bring the hands to your heart center. Yeah, and away from the discipline of the practice, just feeling your heart, feeling the connection of all of us in this practice. However we show up is enough. And as we breathe in together, let's breathe in wellness. Slowly inhale, belly soft. And with our exhales, sweeping the lungs and bowing into the peace within your heart. Namaste. All right. So stick around for some connection. Hopefully that